Hello. I think I'm live. I will double check. Give me 2 seconds. Yep, we're live. Hello, and welcome to the Embrace Historia 10K subscriber Q&A. Yeah, the channel hit 10,000 subscribers. Woo! Go us. We did it after many years of hard laboring and annoying video editing. We have achieved our goal of 10,000 subscribers, which is nice. I thought 1,000 was pretty good, but to get that extra, well, several extra noughts, it's pretty good. I do apologize if there is any background noise, but it is currently uh, very warm in the UK at the moment, and my house is built to retain heat, so it feels like I'm in a sauna. There is a tower fan next to me to keep me cool because where my bedroom is, it directly faces the sun, and my bedroom hits about like 20 plus degrees by like 6:30 in the morning. So I'm exceptionally sweaty at the moment. I really wish I had the tenacity of a pig to be able to roll around in mud and cool myself off because I am sweating. But anyway, we'll try and carry on, because the aim of this live stream is a Q&A, and I have got quite a few questions. Obviously, the priority will be Patreon subscribers first, where my lovely patrons will get first-hand dibs on what is happening. And then there's a few other things I want to share about, like the history of the channel, how the channel developed, what inspired me, various other things which I've made a Google slide presentation for. So let's begin with the first question, which comes from. Let me get the questions up. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? They come from our Patreon. And our first patron, KL, asks, or writes, I should say, "Congrats, Embrace Historia. Love your accent. Where is it from?" So, my accent is English, although I'm technically not English. But I currently am from and live in a small city in the Midlands called Worcester, or Worcestershire, if you want to say the county name. Something a lot of people struggle to pronounce. But if you ever want to learn how to say Worcester, all you've got to say is Worcester. It's not hard. Or Worcestershire. It's a very easy word to say. It's spout weird. I get that. But once you've heard it pronounced, you'll be fine. You just got to remember Worcestershire. There you go. So yes, that's where my accent is from. Worcester, very small but lovely city. Has a very nice cathedral and river walk. Cathedral is interesting. It houses the remains of King John and Prince Arthur. I'm not going to play the alarm because I've played it twice and it gets a bit annoying after a while. But yeah, Worcester's a very nice city. And if you ever want to visit for the day, I highly recommend it. There's plenty to do for a day trip. There's a porcelain museum, and the cathedral, the historical society, a lot of nice cafes and pubs. But yeah, so that's the first question. And then our second question comes from Patreon supporter Poto33, who asks, "What is the origin of the Embrace Historia name and content style?" So, the Embrace Historia name. So, when I first started the YouTube, about when I started the YouTube about 5 years ago, I was being in the middle of being made redundant from a job, and I needed something to do. And I was bored, so I was just like, we'll just have a go at YouTube. Like I had a play around with YouTube many years before. I did like a gaming channel, and like most gaming channels, it was rubbish. It didn't go anywhere, obviously. But so I had a little bit of experience with YouTube, and I was being made redundant, so I didn't have a job. I was looking for a job, obviously, and I thought, you know what, let's just give this a go. So I thought, right, I'll make the channel now, which I made in like 2017, but I didn't upload the first video till 2018. And I thought, right, I need a name. I wanted to go with something that's unique but sort of recognizable, and I tried to go for embrace history, because obviously, like, the goal of the channel is obviously I want people to embrace history, to learn, to educate themselves, you know, that sort of thing, because education's a big thing for me. Or self-education, sorry. And I wanted to go for embrace history. However, that channel name was taken, although I managed to get it on Twitch. So my name on Twitch is Embrace History. And it was taken. So I thought, okay, well, what's an alternative to Embrace History? And I thought, oh, yeah, Embrace Historia, which I think is Portuguese for history anyway. Although I don't speak Portuguese. I know a little bit of Spanish. So that's how the channel name started. Was that's how the name started. And then the content style, well, if you go back to my oldest content, you'll know that my early content was garbage. We can all agree on that. It was trash. It's not the greatest. I really didn't do a good job as well as... If I compare it to now, it's a terrible job. But obviously, you know, it's YouTube. We all start off terribly. Everyone's first video is terrible. That's why you don't watch it again and you cringe at it. But the content style was... I was a really big fan of the Total War series. I had a load of their games, and I thought, well, why don't I just record some action from that while I just talk over it? So similar to how early Kings and Generals was going, and I was inspired by them, Baz Battles, Historia Civilius, and a few others as well. But then over the course of the time, I thought, well, how can I improve? Because this is the thing, is you've always got to self-reflect and think, right, what can I do differently this time? How can I improve? So I just started looking at different things, and then another fellow history creator, the Jacko Meister, suggested to me that I do some sort of like what I'd call a comic book strip style, where you can see it there on the screen now. Let me just actually make sure that OBS is actually showing it. Yes, it is. Okay. You can see it on this top bit here, where I've used a background, an icon, and I call it the comic book strip style because it's showing off a silly little scenario. Like, it's a joke. It might contain a little bit of historical information, but it's just a joke. So I started to do that, and then I did the Anarchy series like that, and I was like, right, what should I do differently now? And then I saw this software called Wonderdraft, where you could draw maps. And the image I have on display here is the first map I drew. I set myself a rather ambitious goal of making sure that I created a map that I could use. I mean, I have used this map. I don't tend to use it as much now. But it's the map of a bit of North Africa, a bit of Europe, but the main crux of it is obviously the stuff I cover, which is European history. You know, British, French, Irish, Scottish. But in my hubris, I was drawing it, and I didn't really leave enough space for Scotland. So I've accidentally... This is the first map I drew, because it has this nice border, but I don't, again, use the border. And I drew this map, and I thought, I've cut off Scotland. Like, you can see only a tiny little bit of Scotland with Hadrian's Wall, and then I've cut a bit off Ireland and obviously Scandinavia. But I just thought, oh, that'll do. You know, oh, that's fine. I'll improve it later. And then I ended up using it for an entire bloody series on Wales. So yeah, so that's how the art styles changed. I'm always thinking like, what can I do differently in each time I start a series. So the King John series obviously was more a focus on how can I improve the sources, references, all that sort of thing. So if you see a number in the corner, that's a reference to where I've got the information from or where it's from. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Right, what's the next question that I've got? Because I've got a few from Photo. I think I'm saying that right. I did screenshot them from. Oh, here we go. So he asks again, do you have any book recommendations? Well, of course, the first book you should all be reading is the Bible for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm joking. I've read the Bible like once when I was like 12 years old. It wasn't for me. But in terms of books, I'm a big fan of obviously non-fiction books. Specifically books on events. And one book I've enjoyed reading is in our current series, The King John, which is Professor Nicholas Vincent's book. It's a short book, only like 117 pages, about the reign of King John. Really, really good. Professor Nicholas is a fantastic historian. But in terms of books that aren't related to the history series we're covering, I probably recommend. I bought this one book recently called Letters of the Queens of England, which basically goes through all the letters that this author could find of the medieval queen. Sorry, because obviously that's one aspect that is starting to get more traction in the world of history is medieval queenship, which is nice to see. But there could be more, and it was a nice book to have because there's one of my favorite letters in there already, which I knew of, which is Empress Matilda. If we get her on screen, there she is, escaping Oxford Castle. Empress Matilda, her letter to Thomas Becket, basically slapping him down, saying, "You owe everything to my son. Now get on your knees and capitulate. Do not try and belittle me as the mother of the king," essentially. And it's just like everything you'd expect from Empress Matilda, a very determined woman to get what she thinks is her rightful birthright, which is the throne of England and the land of Normandy. So that's one book I'd recommend is any books on medieval queenship, and there are some good. I should have linked them actually. I forgot to do it, but there are some good historians at the moment that are covering a lot more early queenship as well, because early British history is very difficult, and there's really not a lot on queens or women in general, because obviously all of the blokes writing it were blokes, so they didn't really write, or they've just mentioned it. I think the only exception I can think of off the top of my head is Ethel, Lady of the Mercians. I can never remember how to pronounce it. Ethelwald, Ethelstan's the king of the English. Yeah, the Lady of the Mercians. She's the exception at the time. So yeah, and in terms of other books, I'd suggest Catherine Hanley's Empress Matilda book, or any of the horrible history books. I know they're kids' books, but they're the books that I read as a kid that I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't really read a lot of fiction. The only fiction books I've really read have been Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter up to the Goblet of Fire, Eragon, the Bible. I'm joking. And God, I'm trying to think. Obviously the horrible histories, but they're non-fiction, not fiction. Yeah, I don't. Other than if it's not historical literature, I really don't read anything other than anything else because I love history so much. That's all I want to read, is historical fiction. Right, let's get to another question that we have this is from Twitter when I put out a thing saying I'm doing this, and the first question is from Dan Davis of Dan Davis Histories. He writes, "Congrats, bro. Nice one." So not really a question, but appreciate it. Thank you, Dan. And then our good friend, Nitin from Flashpoint History. He writes, "Drinks on you, buddy." And I will tell you now, I'm not buying drinks for anyone because they're so expensive. I was in St. David's about 2 weeks ago, and I bought a pint of Madeira. Right? It says it's a Spanish lager or Italian lager. It's not. It's brewed in the UK. It's just a load of bull. I bought it. It was £5.20 for 1 pint. For £5.20, I could have gone to a supermarket, bought a 4 pack of Stella, gone down to St. David's Cathedral and drank like a bum there. I didn't. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't suggest it. But I could have, you know what I mean? £5.20 for 1 pint of Madeira, which is an okay beer. And then I swapped to a cider called Stowford Press. That was still £4.20. So I'm not buying drinks for anyone until the price comes down. Or if I do, it will be at a party where we can bring our own drinks, because then I can, like, like one beer I'm enjoying at the minute is a bottle of Corona. So I'm not buying drinks. I'll bring drinks or brew drinks if I ever learn how. Then the next question is from Isa I Am In, who asks, what do you think is your best video is? And what do you think your most important video is? Oh, okay. So the best video, right. I'm trying to think. The best video. I mean, if I had to go with my favourite video, it's from the Anarchy series. It's the Rout of Winchester, which I very clickbaitily titled Empress versus Queen. That's my favourite one. That's probably my favourite episode because it was a really nice, like, two medieval queens going at each other to fighting for two very different things. Like, one, Queen Matilda is fighting on behalf of her husband, who's now imprisoned by her cousin, the Empress Matilda, who is fighting for her rightful throne. In case you didn't know, this is an Empress Matilda Stan YouTube channel. She was the rightful ruler. So that's probably my favourite episode, but my most important one is probably the history of early Wales, because I don't think there's anything like it on YouTube. I don't mean to tout my own horn, I don't mean to, but I mean I generally don't believe there's much in the way of the whole of how we covered over 500 years of early Welsh history into the High Middle Ages. Because I see a lot of the comments I get, because obviously a lot of my audience are American, is a lot of them saying, oh, I have descendants from Wales, or I'm this part Welsh, or this part Welsh, this part Welsh. Myself, I am Welsh. I know I don't sound it, but my whole family come from Wales. My grandfather originally came from Swansea. He now lives in Worcester. My auntie and my cousin, they all live in Barry. And eventually one day I do plan to return to South Wales. Because, yeah, that's where I want to live. I love Tenby in South Wales. It's a fantastic place. If you ever go, please do. It's a lovely place. Avoid it in July and August, because obviously it's a very family, kid-orientated place, and you don't want to go when the kids are on holiday. Children ruin everything. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted there. So yeah, that would be my favorite video, is the Empress Matilda. Empress Matilda versus Queen Matilda, or and the most important one is the history of early Wales. Anyway, that's pretty much all the questions I got sent through. I'll have a quick look at the chat and just see what questions there are now. Sorry, I'm only just looking. So, yo, hello, Poto, hello. Hi, Embrace Story. I have a question. Why is it the past few years there's been such a huge rise of history channels like Kings and Generals? I think because there's just more people doing it, and the cultural zeitgeist of YouTube as a job has become paramount, where if you ask a child now what they want to do as a job, they won't say astronaut, they won't say physicist, doctor, which is bad because we desperately need people like that, you know. They all say they want to be a YouTuber, which is a hard job. Like, well, actually no, it's a very easy job once you've made it. Like, for me, I do this part-time still. Like, it's a nice gig. I really enjoy what I do. I would love it to be my full-time job, but realistically, I don't know. I will have to wait and see. But at the moment, I'm just quite happy to just chug along and see how well the channel does. again, I do it. I do the content I want because I enjoy it. Um, because it's what I enjoy. I don't see myself doing anything else other than history because the only other thing I'm passionate about is gardening, but I do that anyway. Um, so yeah, I can't see myself doing anything other than gardening or YouTube. But like I said, I do YouTube part time. But I really enjoy it because I enjoy the community. I enjoy chatting with people, and I've made some really lifelong friends along the way. Like, you know, I met Mr. Beat and M Laser back in Oxford a few weeks ago. Lovely people. The Beats were so accommodating and friendly, and they bought me food, which is the quickest way to my heart. So, um, thank you for that, Matt and Shannon. And obviously M Laser, Matthias, for showing us around Oxford. He is phenomenally good as a tour guide. Highly recommend it if you ever want to hire his services. But yeah, sorry, I got distracted there. Yeah, the reason I think there's a rise in history content on at the moment is because it's easier to make in a way that AI kind of helps, which is shit because history, you need your sources. One of the biggest complaints I have, and I don't want to obviously talk smack about history YouTube, but all I ask is people list their sources. I list my sources. I put references in. If somebody's putting out information, please put your sources. Please tell us where you got the information from, because history is a discussion with facts and interpretation, obviously, especially with the early Middle Ages. I just want to see what people are working with, because obviously I know what people like to see in terms of the history. I know history sometimes is a bite-sized chunk when it comes to YouTube. Like, for example, we take our current King John series. I have summarized a lot because there is just so much information, which has been nice, which has been so nice to do, because that Welsh series was the most difficult thing in the world to write, because I was so lacking in sources, and I really had to rely heavily on secondary sources like the archaeological reports and stuff like that. So to have this King John series where I've got lovely manuscripts and chronicles from like Roger of Howden, Gerald of Wales, Roger of Wendover, the anonymous, the history of William the Marshal, Gerald of Wales. I think I don't know if I said him already. Roger of Howden, and the good thing is a lot of this stuff is online. You can read it for yourself. Like, you can go and find Roger of Howden's account and read through the whole thing and see what he wrote about, say, the French king leaving the crusade, Richard's illness during the crusade, King John's actions, etc., etc. So it's a really good resource to have, and that's why it's frustrating when I look at a YouTube channel. I don't watch a lot of history YouTube channel because I don't want to accidentally plagiarize if I ever cover that. I only really watch a select few channels because I know I'm not going to cover anything they cover. Like, for example, one channel I watch is called, they do World War II history, which I find woefully depressing, but I like the logistics of it. That's one aspect of history I'm never touching. You will never find anything on this channel, anything to do with 20th century. Because the 20th century is depressing. It is horrible to research. Just so much. I mean, I know most centuries are horrible, but the Middle Ages are funny. That's why I cover the Middle Ages. But the 20th century is so depressing to read about and so horrible. Like, humans invented fantastic ways of preserving life, but then also absolutely annihilating it. So yeah, sorry. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. Let me scroll through the chat. I tend to listen to your videos late at night or when I'm cleaning my guns. That is very American. Thank you. Love the Anarchy series. Thank you very much. Never in 100 years, I imagine people would be interested in the Byzantine Empire or the campaigns of Belisarius. It's good. Corpius's accounts is lovely. Are we not relevant enough for you? Love your stuff and look forward to more. Diane, thank you. Um, yes, so we've got 2 episodes left of the King John series. Um, and then we're done. And then I've got a list of ideas that I want to work through, and then next year I'm going to start a new series. I haven't decided on what I want to start. Now don't hold me to this. I'm very tempted to do a early history of Scotland. However, it looks a lot more complicated and difficult than Wales, because the early history of Wales was sort of a set motion. You had those kingdoms that changed, variations throughout the century. Scotland, a lot different, a lot more different. So, because I have some sources already on Scotland. If you remember our King David series, one source from that was called a compilation of sources of early Scottish history from 500 AD to 1286. I still have those books. Oh, God. Give me a second, sorry. I need to actually take my t-shirt off. I'm sweating so much because it's so warm. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Why did I should have done this tomorrow. It's supposed to be a lot cooler tomorrow. It's like 28 degrees here. I'm sweating like a pig. Oh, my God. Okay. Right. Oh, let me have a look through the rest of the questions. Right. Sounds awful, but minimum pricing hits us hard. Yes, of course, you're in Scotland, aren't you? Yes, so the price of alcohol must be extortionate. How are prices high in the UK? Yes, our inflation is still something like 8.7% because our current government are incompetent. I'm not a raging lefty, but I don't like bad government or bad governments. So, you've assimilated well, thank you. Yes. I'm almost at the end of my history graduation to become a teacher. Oh, congratulations. I hope it goes incredibly well for you. Feel free to send us how well you're getting on. I still need to write a paper to finish the graduation, though. Yes, I know. I will write a dissertation about the Welsh identity and resistance in the 12th century. Oh, yeah, that's good. If you want some resources on that, if you check the early history of Wales, a lot of the books I use sources in there carry on until the 12th century, so feel free to use them. Gerald of Wales is my primary source. Guy is a beast. Yes, he's also incredibly racist towards the Irish, which we will be addressing when we do our King John and Ireland video. Although I agree with Embrace Historia, the lack of sources in the description of these channels are horrifying. It is annoying, but, you know, it is what it is. But again, some people do YouTube solely for the money. Oh, thank you very much for the donation. Thank you for helping me get into the source material. Oh, no, that's worries. That's very heartening to see. That's the one thing I want people to take away is to research their own and to buy their own books, because knowledge is power. Taps off already. Yeah. I don't tend to drink as much now because just the price of it all is so expensive. Although we have a lot of excess beer left over from my father's 60th birthday, so I've got plenty of alcohol to drink, which I'll get a drink in a minute because I haven't actually cracked open a bottle of beer yet to celebrate. Anyway, I actually have a presentation, so I will go through it now. We've done the questions, really. So I just want to go through some of the stuff. So, in fact, let me get a beer, and then we'll carry on. Let me get a beer. I'll be back in 2 seconds, just getting a beer. Oh my god, why is it so warm? I hate global warming. 28 degrees. Yes, it's the fact that my house retains the heat. You see, so it's like a sauna in here. Our houses are built in the UK to really retain heat for the winter. You see, so like it shouldn't be this hot, this early late in June. It should only be about 20, early 20s, not 28. So we're not used to it, and we don't have air conditioning. Right, I'm helping myself. Oh, oh, there we go. To a bottle of Corona, which I've been really enjoying lately. There we go. That's too fizzy. No. Oh, right. Oh, I love the smell of it. Right. Okay. So, let's carry on with the presentation. The image in front of us right now. Let me just make sure. Actually, no, I know it's showing. Is the first piece of artwork I got made when I received my first quote unquote paycheck from YouTube. So this is like 4 years old. I don't use this logo anymore. I just use the image of St. David because I like the image of St. David. Um, so this is the first bit of artwork I had made. Whew, yes, indeed, Poto. Yeah, this is the first bit of artwork I had made of some generic medieval knights from like the 14th century, I suppose. You know, fighting in the background. But yeah, I had this made 4 years ago. But the next bit, this is the first piece of historical artwork I had made. So if you'll remember our Anarchy series, this is from the Empress Matilda's escape from Oxford Castle. So this is the most romanticized, dramatized event in the whole of the Anarchy. This courageous woman escaping a very besieged Oxford from King Stephen's forces. And there's different interpretations on how this happened, so I tried to combine all of them both when I got it made. This was made by a fantastic artist on Fiverr. I paid about £110 for this, which, if you are a member of my Patreon, whenever we hit a certain amount, which I think we're close to now, I'm going to get some artwork made of King John looking rather befuddled. So that's the next bit of historical artwork we're going to make. But this is the first one I had made. So she escaped from Oxford Castle. One of the interpretations is she escaped with some knights. Another one, she escaped on her own. Another one is she escaped on a white horse. But I had to combine them all. But the artist did a very, very fine job of it because I did give him some references. So this is a modern interpretation of how we think the castle may have looked. Because if you go to Oxford Castle today, I'll show you, this is pretty much all that's left. The building here is of a later design, I believe. The only original bit that's still standing of the original castle that Empress Matilda stayed in is this bit here. This great tower here. So she would have stayed at the top of the building here. And then in the next image, this is a reconstruction of what we think the castle would have looked like. So a very standard, basic Norman castle, stone castle. Surprising for the 12th century. So Empress Matilda would have stayed in here, I believe, and she would have escaped and crossed the Thames over here because it was frozen, allegedly. But yeah, that's how they think the castle looked during the siege. But yeah, so that's the first bit of historical artwork I had made. Obviously, this is the first map I had made. And then this is the first bit of artwork I had drawn myself. Still using Wonder Draft. Surprisingly, this didn't take too long to draw. It's the Welsh Dragon, in case you couldn't tell. Oh, that's nice beer. Oh, right. One thing I wanted to show um, was the milestones. So if you are thinking about YouTube, um, and you reach a certain goal, YouTube sends you emails when you hit a certain milestone. This is what you get if you pass 100. This is what you get if you pass 100 subs. Just a very simple, basic email saying, "Congratulations, you've done the bare minimum. Get back to work, peasant." Oh, okay, yeah. What does the dragon represent? So, again, it is not really known. One aspect, I believe, with the Welsh dragon is that it may have come from a Roman legion standard. May have. The first recorded king, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head this, that apparently is associated with the dragon banner is Cadwallader's son Cadwallader. Cadwallader. Yeah. Cadwallader, son of Cadwallan. So he took over and is considered one of the great kings of Wales. But he is associated with the dragon banner. But again, we think it may have come from a Roman cavalry unit. We're not 100% sure. But there's a lot of different itinerary associated with Wales. Like the leek is associated with St. David to say to the Welsh warriors, "Oh, the Saxons are dressed the same as us. Put a leek in your head and your helmet and it'll show that you're Welsh or Briton, whatever." I think that's the interpretation. Again, the problem with early Middle Ages is a lot of it is interpretation. There's no straightforward answer, unfortunately, and that's why it was so frustrating to research. Anyway, yeah. So this is the first thing they send to you. So, hi, Embrace Historia. Let's have a round of applause because you did it. More than 100 people have subscribed to your channel. Now it's time to get out there and shout it from the virtual rooftops. Woohoo! Heart the YouTube team, and then you can share it. You know, it's a great achievement. I still remember hitting 100 subs, and I thought, wow, 100 people have subscribed to me. That's insane. You know, that's more people than I know, I think. And it probably is. And then it just rolls from there. And then you get that worrying feeling coming back in. It's like, am I good enough? Am I good enough doing this? Oh, God, I'm terrible. No, I'm the worst. You know, that sort of doubt. Now, I'm going to show you my favorite GIF. This is what happens. This is the GIF YouTube sends you when you hit 500 subscribers. Look at it. That's lovely. That's my favorite one. It's absolutely brilliant. Everyone gets into a jet, and then it's like, boom, 500 subs with a disco ball, you know. I mean, I wouldn't party on a plane because I'm actually not a great fan of flying. I have flown, but I just don't like flying. So that's the 500 one. This is the 10,000. Sorry, the 1,000 one, which I don't think is as good. I still think that jet one is great, but this one is like, hey, you know, this is bananas. You've got over 1,000. You know, 1,000 people have subscribed to you. That's an insane number. It's bananas, as YouTube says, which is phenomenal. I hit that like, I hit it on the 24th of December, 2020. No, maybe 2019. Yeah, I think it was 2019 before the pandemic started. Oh God, the pandemic. Embrace Yours. Since I'm going to use Gerald of Wales as my primary source, I would like to know your opinion on him. Positives and negatives. What should I... I mean, he's allegedly buried at St. David's, because I managed to get a picture of his tomb when I visited St. David's. But he is useful for the time, but you have to remember he kind of started perpetuating the notion that the Irish were barbarian savages, and then that notion carried on, and then it evolved into oppression and then murder of the Irish people. So, from a modern standpoint, he's a useful source, but he's also a bit of a dickhead, because the way he describes the Irish in his topography of Ireland isn't great. Like, he incredibly anti-Irish, and I will get into that when I do King John in Ireland, because he's our only contemporary chronicler of John's trip to Ireland. So we will have to, obviously, as soon as, like, I'll say something along the lines of moving past Gerald's anti-Irish sentiments, because obviously the Irish were a big, in the early Middle Ages, were a proportion of bishops coming from Ireland to the early kingdoms of England and actually teaching or being abbots of abbeys. So it's kind of a 180 they did on the Irish. So yeah, Gerald of Wales, helpful for the time, but also a bit of a bastard, is what I would say. So again, obviously, take with every source what they say with a grain of salt. Always have a bit of like doubt in your back of your mind, because again, they are writing for the time. So yeah, that's what I would say on Gerald of Wales. Right. This is what you get when you hit 10,000 subs. Pretty good. Pretty good. It is phenomenal to see. 10,000 people have clicked subscribed. That's pretty weird, and strange, and just baffling to me that people enjoy my content enough that 10,000 of you really wanted to see more. So yeah, so I'm deeply humbled, and I kind of don't care about the sub count anymore now. I've reached that goal of we're in the top 2 million of whole of YouTube channels. So yeah, I just want to focus on making quality content and entertaining, funny content, because that's why I do the Middle Ages, is because the Middle Ages is hilarious. There is just so much funny stuff going on with how people acted, what they did, events, And there are some horrible events like the Black Death, Justinian's Plague, War, Famine. But I really like just how things worked around, like, at the agricultural side, the English wool trade, which I mentioned God knows how many times. The history of places, of people, how it changes. And again, just funny stuff. Like, there's a lot of funny stuff in the King John series, like Eleanor of Aquitaine dressing up as a bloke to escape her husband's men. William Longchamp dressing up as a woman to escape King John's men and trying to seduce a fisherman, but because he couldn't speak English, he didn't get very far. So, yeah, that's why I do the Middle Ages, because it's just funny. Right, let's have a look at some more comments. This is Bananas in the year of our Lord 2023. Come on, YouTube. Yes, I agree. My ancestors were of the White Dragon. Northumbrian Angles are the most likely source of my direct parental line. That area is one of the most violent regions, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, yeah, I suppose it probably was. Maybe, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, most of it was pretty violent during the early Middle Ages, especially when the Vikings started rocking up. Yeah, because that's where Lindisfarne is, so, yeah, that's where the great heathen army came and booted the Northumbrian kings out. It's where the Britons under Cadwallon managed to take it back for a bit, and then Cadwallon died in battle. Yeah, I'd probably say Northumbria's definitely seen its fair share of gore and horror. Right, what's the next question? Harrying of the North is very underrated in its severity, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not 100% knowledgeable about the affair, other than I know what happened and how it happened. But it was pretty gruesome, and it doesn't really reflect well on King William the Conqueror overall, because you could make the argument that he is the worst king of England because of that event. He basically stripped the economic power of the North down completely, which harmed it and the development of England for centuries, because he just brutalized and killed so many people. I'd have to look, because I wonder if there were any, because I haven't read any contemporary chroniclers about the harrying. I wonder what they've written, because obviously if you think about the First Crusade, how brutal that was when the Crusaders took Jerusalem, the absolute slaughter of the Jews and the Muslims, and how that was condemned by contemporary chroniclers. I imagine there might be some stuff on that for the harrying of the North, which is pretty bad, you know. And this is why the Normans built so many churches, is because they bled Christian blood. They spilt their fellow Christians' blood. That's why they built loads of abbeys and churches everywhere, because they were having to do penance. And it's the same with Henry II when he accidentally ordered the execution of Thomas Becket by crying out, "Who will rid me of this turbulent priest? Or will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" However interpretation you want to do. Because he felt so guilty and he was trying to perform penance, he was just building a load of churches, because we know, because of the amount of lead pollution, that lead pollution cloud then got trapped in the Alps, which then scientists analyzed. So yeah, you can tell sins apart from how they build their churches. Although there's not as many churches as we would like in the UK now, because obviously Henry VIII destroyed a lot of them, the bastard. I am going to one day do a video on Henry VIII and why I hate him. Like a 2-hour long video on why I hate Henry VIII. And I'm going to make it satirical as hell and just mock him constantly. Right, anyway, sorry. Let's have a look. What else is there? Hey, Embrace, can I send you an email containing the sources and blah, 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 blah. See, I'm going to use my paper. Could use some opinions. Yeah. Send them to me. Just embracehistoria@gmail.com if you've got any questions or want any advice on history or whatnot. I'm not an expert. Like, I don't have a degree in history. I have a degree in English literature, even though I'm not that great at writing. Yeah. So, yeah, send it to me. I'll have a look through it. I'm an amateur history buff at best. I don't call myself a historian because I'm not one. But yeah. Yes, I hate him too, Poto. Don't worry. We'll get him. We'll get that bastard. Right. What else was there on the itinerary? Oh, yes. So, going back to the earlier question of why I make history, it goes back to one man, for me anyway, and that is my grandfather. So, my grandfather, he originally comes from Swansea in South Wales. This is him. Here he is, sat on the bike here. This is him when he was on his military service in Germany in 1952, I believe. He was stationed in a very small town in Germany. I've forgotten the name, something beginning with N, I can't remember. And he is the reason I make history, because when I was a young child, my grandfather, who was semi-retired at this point, he was a lorry driver for after his military service, like HGV, big lorries, driving all across the country and whatnot. He took me to a lot of places. One of my earliest memories of him taking me was to a castle in Wales. Sorry, not Wales, England. Between the English and Welsh border, Goodrich Castle. And it's this lovely red stone castle that was owned by William Marshall at one point. He took me there with my cousin. And he took me to a lot of historical places. And he nurtured that love of history for me. And then, obviously, I started to learn more as I got older with school and horrible history books and all the other stuff. But he's the sole reason this channel exists today. If it hadn't been for him, his drive to take me to these places, to educate me, to show me what the countries I live in have to offer, there wouldn't be a Embrace Historia channel. So I owe everything to him. He's still around. I'm not like oh, he's gone. No, he's still he's still perfectly fine. Struggling a bit nowadays, but he's nearly 90, so what do you expect? But this is his military platoon, I suppose, the Royal Signals, Welsh Royal Signals. He is there, by the way, as somebody's crudely drawn a pen. So, What strikes me is just how skinny they all are. Like, they're really all quite skinny. I suppose rationing still was going on, but yeah. I think he spent a few years there in Germany for his national service. And then he was a driver for some like military officers. And I think they offered him like a permanent position after his military service to be like a driver for like generals and captains and all that stuff. But I think he turned it down because I think he got married to my nan. So that's probably why. Because, you know, back in them days, even still now, some people get married. Like, my grandfather was married to my grandmother when he was 21. Like, that just seems insane to me. To get married at 21. That's just, oh, no thanks. I mean, I'm 29, and the thought of getting married, oh, God, that just scares me so much. Just, ugh. So, yeah. Who do you think was the best person in human history? The best person? Oh, God. Whew. That's a tough question. I'd probably put it down to, like, the doctors who invented antibiotics and penicillin. They're probably the greatest ones. Or the chaps who cultivated crops so they would grow more effectively and yield greater harvests. People who have done great developments for preserving life and helping people. So they're the greatest of humans, not the great conquerors or butchers of time or history. The people who actually helped to save lives. So those kind of people, I would say, are those the kind of best people in human history. Or, you know, Jesus, because he could turn water into wine, and that's a damn fine party trick. Ugh. Yes, yes. Oh, sorry. His name is Bryn. Yeah. It's a very... I don't know if Bryn's a very Welsh name. I'm not too sure. But his uncle was called... his uncle. His father was called Ivar, which apparently is a Welsh name. To me, Ivar sounds Scandinavian, not Welsh, but apparently it's Welsh. But yeah, yeah, so that's the reason why I do history, is because of my grandfather. So I did have some more images of his stuff, but it's not saved on my computer. They're on a hard drive, because I take so many pictures wherever I go. I need a bloody great big hard drive to store them all on. So, but yeah, I can't ride a bike, though. I could not ride a motorbike. I'd fall off instantly. So, although I didn't be interested to see what's happened to that motorbike. It's probably been scrapped though for parts. So, but yeah, I think that's basically all I had really written down. So if you've got any more questions, far away, I'll be here. Oh yes, and obviously I always forget to do this. I do apologize, my patrons. I'm absolutely terrible at this. I am going to try and get better. But I have made this graphic now that I'm going to put in every end of the videos to shout out my glorious Patreon supporters who the money that they give me each month goes towards the sources, the physical sources, any historical artwork, which one piece I'm going to commission, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, so I do apologize. I keep meaning to do it, but when I finish a video, I want to... When I get to close to the end and it's rendering, I'm just like, oh, I can have a day off now. I can chill now. I can have a drink now. You know, it is the most satisfying thing in the world to finally render a video, because the worst thing about doing YouTube, and this is just me being silly, so don't take too much away from this. I absolutely hate editing. It is a pain in my arse to edit, because you've got to think, right, what can I do in this section that I'm saying this, but what could I do to make it funny? What information could I put out? How could I animate it? What map should I use? What should I put in here? I hate it. I hate video editing so much. It's so annoying. I love writing the scripts. I love researching. I even like narrating after a while. But video editing, oh my god, it sucks. It sucks. Thank you, Poto. Thank you. I'm trying to get better because I'm always trying to improve, and I'm not used. In the last year, I've gained 4 Patreon supporters. At most, I had 1. So to have 4 is crazy, you know. So thank you again, all that for your financial support. Do you think you're the best historian currently? I mean, I'm not a historian. Let's just lay that down. I'm just a guy who likes reading historical literature and telling stories. That's all I consider myself. Is just a keen storyteller. Maybe not very a good one, but a keen storyteller. If you want the historians, you need to go and look up Professor Nicholas Vincent, Stephen Church, John Davies, Professor Eleanor Janga. Not David Starkey because he's a racist. Come on. Oh, trying to think of more historians' names now. Dan Jones, my friend Josh. He is doing his PhD on early medieval peasantry. He is the chap who was the presenter for the medieval doom painting. I mean, does YouTube make money? I mean, obviously you can make a lot of money for YouTube, but if you go into it thinking you want to make money, I honestly think you're going to fail because that's a terrible mindset to have. You should do YouTube because you're passionate about something. So I started doing YouTube because I was made redundant. I needed something to do. And then I really started to enjoy it. And then I started putting more passion and work and effort into it. And I like to think it's paid off. But if you go into it thinking, I want to make money, don't bother because you are just, your passion's never going to be there. Your audience will see through it. You're not going to be, you know, you're just going to be seen as just, wow, a douche, really. But I have made a nice amount of money off YouTube when I've had a really good month where, like the Welsh series, when that started to blow up, like I got a nice amount. Anyway, I won't say the amount because, you know, privacy. But the amount was nice enough that I could go out and get a lot more sources. Like the most expensive source book I use for the King John series is this ex-university textbook, England in the 13th century. That was £30, which, you know, when you're buying books that are like £10 to £12, it soon starts to build up, especially when you've got like 12 plus sources, physical sources to purchase. So yeah, I would say don't do YouTube if you want to make money. Do YouTube because you feel like you have something unique to put out onto the platform and because you enjoy what you do. Like I enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I hate video editing, but that's the worst aspect of it, where I can just be like, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's satisfying to get it out there, to see people watch it, to see them react to it, to see them to like it, that I just think I've done my job. You know, I follow the philosophy of St. David. Be good and do the small things. And I like to think I am a good person, I think. And I do the small things. I make little YouTube videos that people enjoy. That's what I'm grateful for. But yeah. Oh my god. Sorry, my back is just sticking to my chair. Oh, it's so warm, bro. It's so warm. Why? Why is it so warm? I hate this. Why can't we fix global warming? Please, Greta Thunberg, save us from the global warming or the climate change. Oh, I'm going to have to move somewhere else, I think. Good lord. What's the weather like in Tenby, actually? Let me have a look. Right. Sorry, for those who don't know, Tenby is my favourite place in the world. Here we go, Tenby in Pembrokeshire. It's 20 degrees in Tenby. Oh my god, just think we could be walking along the beach, sipping a beer, playing in the sea. Yeah. But let me show you where Tenby is. So, Tenby. this is Tenby. It's little corner of South Wales, about an hour away from St David's. It's my favourite place. It's got stunning beaches. That's the harbour, and it's got these lovely multicoloured houses. And then the castle is the ruins at the top of there. More of the beach. It's a lot sunnier than this. There we go. That's a good one. Ice cream. Okay, I have a question for you. If you bought a standard ice cream and it was £2.50, or say $2.50, is that expensive? I don't think it is. I think that's quite reasonable to pay £2.50, and I mean like a proper, vanilla ice cream with some strawberry sauce on top of it. No flake though, because a flake's an extra £1, and you could just buy a flake for like 60 pence at a supermarket and stick it in yourself. But yeah, this is my favourite place in the world, is Tenby. Obviously not a great place to go during the school summer holidays because it's a very family favourite spot. But you've got so much to do in Tenby. You've got the boat trips, you've got the lovely beach, you've got an island nearby called Coley Island, where there are actual monks there that actually make chocolate, alcohol, and it's an actual proper monastery that you can go and visit. It's got a lovely church, which I've not been into because every time I've been to Tenby, there's always either been a funeral or a wedding going on. Well, that's a pretty good photo, actually. That's probably early in the morning. So yeah, if I lived there, I'd get a dog and I'd just walk the beaches every day. And I'd get a wee boat and go out sailing in it. But yeah, Tenby is my favourite place in the world. You can't beat it. It's the quintessential seaside town that hasn't really degraded. And what's cool is it's a medieval town. So as you can see on this picture, the medieval foundations of the castle or the town's defences are actually reincorporated into modern buildings, which is really cool. That there is a prison. There it is. And then that's the new lighthouse. Sorry, rescue sea thingy. I can't remember the bloody name of it now. Lifeboat rescue, that's it. Oh, my back. Yeah. Here we go. Castle. In fact, I'm sure I've got... God, I've got so many photos. I really need to organise my photos better. Trying to find it. Where the hell is Tenby? Ah, there it is. Yeah. This was at 9 o'clock in the morning. You just can't beat it. Apart from the seagulls, of course. Right, how long have we been going for? Oh, just over an hour. Yep, well, I'll probably leave it there, actually, because I've covered all the questions. Thank you all for the support over the years. And, yeah, I'll try and do another Q&A in future if we hit another milestone. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon.